2, 1, go.
Why, hello everybody, it's Atlas from Nexus at Night. We're here at BCS Anaheim, where we both scrubbed out hilariously.
We did terrible.
Some of our friends are still in the tournament, and good for them. But I just thought I would get this deck profile out of the way, because I never did the V version, I just did the premium version. So, let's get into it. We have 4 copies of Leopold Reverse. So you can lock a Leopold's on rearguard circle, and then everything that you mill gets treated as normal trigger and order unit, or not unit, cards. So that means that anything you mill gets all of their effects going off at the same time. And then the other effect is Counterblast, mill a card, and then depending what it is, you can get an Excel marker. Vanguard gets a crit, and front row gets 5k. Just for the entire turn, like red text, and then check top 5, call up to 2 things. Because of how good Great Nature is at searching grade 3s, I have literally never had this problem, like in the real world where I win games and stuff, but I didn't really have that problem here either. In fact, I had the opposite, where I just kept drawing all of my grade 3s at once. But yeah, the card's really good, and you can put on a lot of pressure very quickly. So I'll explain more later. 4 copies of the original Leopold. So if you remember from back then, where like you mill, and then if it's like you either get 20k or a crit, or check top 4, call up to 2 things, and then if you wrote over a grade 3, do it twice. So you're doing this just for the name. Very rarely are you actually writing regular Leopold unless you like got screwed and had to write it by accident. So, most of the time, like, yes, it's like a dead card on rearguard, but until they make a Leopold with rearguard effects, like, you're just kind of stuck with this. I think after this tournament, what I'm going to do is lower this to 3, because, like, again, it's so good at searching grade 3s, what's even the point of maxing out? 4 copies of Binoculus Tiger. Big playmaker for the deck. On attack, Counterblast, mill a card. And then if it's a normal unit, draw a card, and if it's trigger unit, blow something up on the opponent's side and give 3 things in your front row, plus 5k. So on a Leopold turn, you are drawing, retiring, and giving plus 15k to your front row, essentially. It's so frickin' good in this, and what you're using most of your Counterblast for, aside from Leopold Reverse. 4 copies of Barcode Zebra. This is a deck that mills, therefore you're going to use it. Every time you mill, it gets 5k. I was hitting like 50 to 70k pretty, routinely. With this, it's like, if you're gonna drop it, put it to 3 if you have to, but it's so good for that. 2 copies of Mathilda. This did not come into play once today, but the effect is on play Vanarreer, Counterblast, mill a card, and then if it's, what is it, normal unit for the, normal unit for the Battledore skill when she attacks, and then a trigger unit for the crit. So on a Leopold turn, she's crit, and they're going to drop 2 or more cards at the same time. Again, in the rest of my life, it's come in pretty handy and has closed out games every now and then, but it's also something that costs a Counterblast. So I had it at 4, but I cut it down to 2 for the tournament, and then didn't have it come into play once. 2 copies of the Cat. You can bind it from drop and put 2 normal units on bottom. I use this just to not die against decks that can survive longer. Has come in handy, came in handy once during the tournament. 1 copy of Blusher Parakeet on play, Counterblast, check top 7. See, we're not just in a room with a green screen. So grab a grade 3, and then if she's on rearguard, she dies at end phase, but she gets 3k either way. This is great in both formats, and I think if I cut down a Leopold, I just had a second one of this. 4 copies of Mini Belly, check top 5, grab a grade 3, important. This is super important. 4 copies of the Lemur. So, mill a card, and then if it's a normal unit, soul charge, if it's trigger unit, counter charge. So on Leopold turns, it's both of them. This is the way you get your resources back. It's also the way you deck out the most. Not that that happened, but just like it's a thing that can happen. 4 copies of Monoculus Tiger, so I'm sure you guys all know what this is. On attack or boost, Soul Blast, mill a card. If it's a normal unit, God, I can never remember the full thing. Okay, normal unit is no Sentinels, and then if it's trigger unit, they can only call triggers. So on Leopold, they can't call Sentinels, but they have to be triggers, which can cut down someone's hand pretty quickly. Unfortunately, I never really got to use this because whenever I would get it in hand, I'd have to guard with it to not die because Steam Maidens are a thing. But it has done things in the real world. And then for triggers, we got your 4 heals. I did 2 of the old, 2 of the new, because you can search for the grade 3 out of deck. Because this is Great Nature, I figured having the 5k extra shield comes in handy now and again, and it did. 4 draw PGs, and then in terms of everything else, it's 6 fronts and 2 crits. So because this is a deck that like can spam Excel circles, and you know, you make your things really huge, it's just really good to do fronts, I think, instead of crits. But you do want to keep a couple crits in there for the scare factor. I just think the fronts have more value because you're filling up your board pretty easily with Leopold Reverse's effect. So that's pretty much it. I'm very disappointed in myself. But yeah, leave a like, leave a comment, patreon.com/nexusatnight. Thanks, everybody.